of the Scarlet and Black Nation podcast. We are your hosts. I am TJ Kern. That is my buddy Blake Hartsfield. Blake, who said that the Red Raiders were going to have a tough time playing up in Utah in the elements?
Hand up for accountability.
With the crowd noise. I mean,
that was probably
that was tough, my friend. However, I said last week on this program, I wanted to go up there on the road. We haven't played well on the road under McGuire. And the one thing that I harped on, Blake, last week was a clean game, right? On the road, in a tough environment, you got to watch your penalties. And Blake, the Red Raiders came out of the gates with, I believe, 100 false starts. It was terrible. I bet it's about as bad as you could get offensively with the false start, the crowd noise. I believe you said that the crowd wouldn't be as loud at 10 a.m. as it would have been at night. Blake, that crowd was loud. And Bear Morton and company were having some problems. The offensive line couldn't get their stuff together. And, but let's rewind a little bit. We kick the ball off, and the Red Raiders do get the ball, okay? Opening kick, opening drive. Huge third down. Let's get the ball on a drag route to Jacoby Williams, and boy, is he fun to watch in space. Take that thing 70-something yards, making people miss. He's so shifty. And then Cameron Dickey gets the touchdown for the Red Raiders for the early 7-0 lead. I was pumped. You were pumped. And then we get the 3 and out. We text each other. That's about as great of a start. Couldn't ask for a better start, right? And then it got a little ugly, Blake.
Yeah, TJ.
Lots of turnovers after that.
Yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. You know, they start the game, right? They win the toss. They defer. They kick off to Utah, 3 and out from this defense, which we're going to get into a lot of them, what they were able to accomplish here in a little bit. But to get a 3 and out and then go down and stick it in the end zone, highlighted by the long pass to Jacoby Williams, you couldn't ask for a better start to the football game than what the Red Raiders came out and did. And then the game kind of turned into an error-prone defensive struggle. Yeah, defensive struggle.
It reminded me of those LSU Alabama 3-0 finals.
Yeah,
for a little while.
The offense couldn't get out of their own way, right? I don't think that Barron necessarily was playing bad, but it's hard to Utah has a good defense, and it's hard to move the ball consistently against a defense when your offensive line is continuing to put you behind the chains. And you mentioned the 100. I think it was 8 at the end of the day, 8 false starts, which is like 7 too many, right? Six too many. If you have 1 or 2 false starts on the road, I get it. The broadcast kept talking about it, though. Where I was frustrated is it's like, okay, enough of the clapping business on the snap count, right? Like, clearly they can't hear it. Did we not have a silent count prepared? I don't know, were they just refusing to adjust to it? But it seemed like about halfway through the third quarter, they seemed to figure out the snapping issues and not jumping offside. And that, led to the success later in the game. But you hit the nail on the head, TJ. They couldn't start the football game any better than to come out, get a 3 and out, stuff the run right off the bat, and then take the ball when you get it after getting that 3 and out, go right down the field and punch it in the end zone.
And so the Red Raiders were leading 7-0, Blake. And then it was all about Peanut Tillman ball for this defense. As Coach Joey McGuire was quoted after the game talking about he sent some of his defensive players video of old Peanut Tillman. Those of you that are old enough to remember him from his days as a Chicago Bear, he was famous for punching at the football and trying to cause turnovers. We know in big games, the turnover battle is crucial, Blake. And the Red Raiders went to work on that side of the ball, causing turnovers.
Yeah, TJ, the turnovers were nice. They punched the ball out a couple of times and recovered the fumble, gave the offense great field position that, again, they kept failing to capitalize on. And I think at the end of the first quarter, they did one of those sideline interviews with Whittingham, and he said, look, we're lucky that this is only 7-0 right now, because it felt like Tech should have been up about 17 or 20-0 at that point, given the turnovers. And just, the field position they continued to get that they just didn't capitalize on. And it just comes back to penalties.
Penalties, man. And, that's disciplined football.
They did have the one interception. Barron throws two, right, in the first half there, TJ. The first one I'm going to put on Barron. I think that was it was severely underthrown, the one to Payday Douglas down the sideline. But to me, it's less about the underthrow, and it was more that he chose to throw it into double coverage. The ball gets tipped up, it gets intercepted. That's what happens when you decide to throw into double coverage. TJ, the second one to Coy Eakin in the second quarter. I'm sorry. People are trying to blame that on. That is not on Baron Morton. The ball was. They're saying it was not underthrown. It was a back shoulder throw on a one-on-one coverage, and Coy Eakin would put his hand up and tell you he's got to come up with that football. To let that corner just literally wrestle it away from him, is not going and making a play to help the quarterback on the road, who made a good throw on that ball.
Yeah, that one was a tough one because it's like you just said, Blake. It felt like the Red Raiders should have been up in this first half by at least a couple touchdowns, minimum.
Yeah. And so, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, and the score just wasn't reflecting it. But, Blake, I do want to point out the fact that this coaching staff has matured a little bit.
Yes, they have.
Let's go ahead and kind of give them some props. We're sitting here texting back and forth, right? And we're Coach Joey McGuire, let's go for it on fourth down, Mr. Analytics. Blake.
Not in that game.
When he had a defense and he was on the road and he liked the way that his defense was playing, man, the punter was MVP of the game for the first half.
Yeah, TJ, they did a really good job of being patient, despite the offense continuing to shoot themselves in the foot with penalties and putting themselves behind the sticks and just the comedy of mistakes that they continued to make. There were several opportunities where he was at the 50 or the 45 in plus territory and had a 4th and 3 or a 4th and 4, and the old Joey McGuire goes for that, right? And if you get it, great. And if you don't, you're giving Utah great field position. TJ, they were like, look, our defensive line is dominating this football game, and I want to talk about them here in a second. But my defensive line, my defense is dominating this football game. Utah hasn't shown that they are able to string 2 first downs together so far for the first half. He continued to be patient and punt the football and had the field tilted big time in his own favor. He had Utah pinned back for most of the first half and really for most of the game with the field position. And I just thought that you got to give Joey credit for the maturity. And even though the book might have said, oh, go for it here, he's like, look, I've got a defense that's just dominating the game. I'm not going to put them in a bad position.
And let's talk about those guys and give them all the kudos, man, because all the hype coming into the week was about this offensive line from Utah versus the defensive line, the bot defensive line from Texas Tech, and could best on best. That was what we heard all week, best on best. And, man, they manhandled Utah like they manhandled everybody this season so far. Made them look like a Division II team and not the 16th ranked team in the country. I mean, it was very impressive. And, Blake, what I love the most about this defense, not only do they get pressure without having to blitz, the guys up the middle stuff the run. They do a great job. These linebackers fly around. Blake, this team doesn't miss open field tackles.
No, they don't. They tackle great in space for years. And I think you mentioned this to me in a comment on a text during the game was, how many times have we watched Tech guys get out one-on-one on the perimeter and miss a tackle and the guy runs for 12 yards for somebody else? That doesn't happen with this defense, TJ, but you hit the nail on the head, man. Like, I talked about it last week for those that listened to our episode about how good this Utah offensive line is, right? They've got 2 tackles who are bad dudes, TJ. They're both going to be, first-round draft picks in the NFL draft. And, this defensive line, right, the starting 4, and then, TJ, the guy who didn't get enough credit during the broadcast, Holmes had a phenomenal game in the middle, right, as the 3rd defensive tackle stuffing the run. I think he might have been like the highest PFF grade on the team outside of Will Hammond and what he did in the second half.
We'll get to him.
But look, this defensive line, against this offense. It was best on best. McGuire talked about it. Whittingham talked about it. All the pundits across the country talked about it. TJ, it was an ass kicking. Okay. This defensive line dominated the football game. And I'm not taking away anything from,
What's the word you like to use during the basketball season? The defensive line boat race these
well, the game was almost, I mean, the game got to a boat race score. Okay. Now it was closer than that, but yeah, I mean, look, no disrespect, and I'm not taking anything away from Rodriguez and the linebackers, and not taking away from anything from Pollock and the secondary. The whole unit played great, but man, this defensive line just they can just take over a football game, TJ. And if when we did our preseason predictions, I said that this was the one team in the conference that could match you in the trenches, and this wasn't even a contest. Both the offensive line and the defensive line, the offensive line when they weren't false starting, controlled the football game, right? And if you were controlling both lines of scrimmage against the one team in the league that could absolutely match you based on paper, TJ, this defensive line looks like a defensive line that you would see at Georgia or Alabama or Ohio State, that can carry a team to a really good record and a really deep run in the playoffs. And that is what we have. They are elite across the board. They play well together. And TJ, the discipline that they displayed in this football game with Utah's offense, where they run a bunch of zone reads and they run motions and misdirections, like none of them got greedy, right? None of them were like, oh, I'm going to go make the hero play and leave one of my brothers out to dry because I want to go make, like, no, they were disciplined. Their gap control was really good. And then when they had to pin their ears back and go get a quarterback, they did it.
Well, not only that, Blake, I was so impressed with the fact that we were able to keep Dampier under wraps with his legs. I thought that was going to be a huge, huge part of the game. Dampier, not only in the passing game, where there were some struggles there, obviously, with some interceptions as well, but the being able to keep him contained in the pocket, not let him get out and scramble, thought that was really big for the Red Raider defense, basically for the entire game. They held Utah to 263 total yards, Blake.
TJ, Utah ran the ball 31 times and only got 101 yards rushing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you will take that all freaking day long against that team, against any team, but against that team in particular that wants to play, like we talked about, these, they want to take the air out of the football, and they want to go on these 6 and 7 minute long drives and make it a 17-13 rock fight over the course of the game. You were up for the rock fight, right? Your defense hung in there and dominated the football game until your offense finally woke up in the second half. And I guess we can probably start talking about that. But the last thing I want to say about the defense, TJ, these guys are elite, man. It is not just a good Texas Tech defense, TJ. This is a top 10 defense at worst in the country. They have now allowed 10 points in 4 football games as a starting unit. 10 points. Like that is insanely good.
Yeah, not only that, I mean, dude, they're physical, they're ugly, they're nasty, they can play.
They're disciplined.
They could play different styles, right? Like, I'm really, really thrilled with the defense. And let's talk about this rock fight a little bit, because the Red Raiders go to set up for a 58-yard field goal, and the announcers are just like, oh, this isn't going to be anywhere close. Like, what's this guy doing? Boom, would have been good from 60. We take a 10-0 lead in the ball game, and then
should have been 10-0 at halftime. TJ, it was the dumbest. That is one of the dumbest penalties I've ever seen.
That's what I was getting to. So we decide to rush the kick, okay, for Utah. Now Utah has the ball after we go up 2 scores. You go into the half up 2 scores, Blake. You're feeling great. However, they get the roughing the kicker with a little Euro flop there, and so they end up getting a chip shot field goal. So now it's a 1-score game at half, 10-3, Blake. And then the big story in the second half, our guy, your guy, Baron Morton, decides he wants to run a little bit, and he's got to learn how to slide. We got to teach him how to slide.
Baron, please, if you get if you take away one thing from this game, learn to get down. You don't need to be trying to lower your shoulder and run through a safety, right? 12 yards down. You had a good scramble. Just go down, right? Just slide, whatever you wanted. Early in the first half, he dove forward as opposed to sliding. So I don't know if they need to get Tadlock or somebody out there to teach him how to slide, but can we please learn how to slide, Baron? But he gets knocked out of the game, TJ. It was not called targeting, which, I mean, I'm not entirely sure how that's not targeting. To me, it was a dirty hit, right? Jacob from Scarlet Bach Insider has his Jacob's takes, and I'm going to take a line from him from his little rant on his podcast, or whatever you want to call it, that he put out after the game. And he goes, and I completely agree with it. He basically said, if your ass is above your belt and you're in a spearing motion at a player, it's a dirty hit. I don't care if it's targeting or not. It's a dirty hit. And that's what it was. He gets knocked out of the game, and in comes Will Hammond, redshirt freshman on the road in a tough place to play. And man, so TJ, was he
say a little something here, because now we enter Will Hammond, right? I said on this podcast early on that I think a really important subplot to this whole entire year was how good's Will Hammond? How much run can we get Will Hammond? Because we need to find out, A, if he's your quarterback of the future, or
100% he is.
If you're going portal shopping. Well, we've got our answer, okay? Yep. Because that kid showed the kind of toughness, and I want to talk about the coaching staff real quick, because when he first entered the game,
a little conservative,
very, very conservative. And I think you and I were texting during the game, hey, let's turn around and run the ball.
Yeah.
Even if you can't do anything with it, let's run the ball, run the clock, because Utah also, they can't score fast. They need to run the clock to score. So
TJ, I was kind of thinking, can we win the game 13-10? I was kind of thinking, can we win the game 13-10 right at that point? Like, seriously, I really was.
Yeah.
So
and the thing about it was, you looked up and the third quarter was over because we were both running the ball. I felt like the third quarter only lasted 5 minutes.
Yeah, it was fast.
So, but what I want to give the coaches credit for is the second drive, maybe. It was the drive that we ended up getting the field goal on at the beginning of the fourth. And
we got a touchdown. We didn't get a field goal.
No, we went up.
Because we made it 17-3. There was
13-3.
Was it 13-3?
Yeah, because we went up 2 scores, and then they scored a touchdown. I promise.
Oh, you're right. I'm sorry. I'm looking at it now. You're right. Yes.
2 scores. We end up settling for the field goal.
That's right, because they made it 13-10. Yeah, they made it 13-10.
Will Hammond played.
Yeah, he missed. That's the one where he missed the slant, right? He missed Koyikin wide open on the slant to throw the fade in the corner that he just overthrew a little bit. Yeah, okay, I remember now. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I'm getting that drive mixed up with another one.
It's all good, but we had to settle for the field goal. But Hammond was able to get his sea legs under him, if you will, and he looked good. And then Utah goes down and scores, Blake. Now you're looking at a
butt clinching time. Hold on to your butts, right? And
insert freshman here. Now let's see what you're made of on the road. And boy, I'm going to let you take it from here, because Blake, he was the highest rated quarterback in the country on
TJ,
Saturday.
It was a lot of it was Will Hammond, but and all the credit in the world to him. You did mention the subplot of how good is Will Hammond. The fact that he's obviously your guy, right? He's obviously the quarterback of the future, and
the team knows it,
right? And they play for him. They all believe in him, and I think he's the guy in the future, and he also gives you a lot of confidence. If Barron goes down hurt again, we're gonna be okay, right? We got this kid in the wings. I think the team believes in him for 2 reasons, TJ. One, he got every rep in the spring because Barron was recovering from his shoulder surgery. So the fact that he got, and I think that's huge, right? He got to play the bowl game. He got to take every rep in the spring. He got to play in all 3 of the first 3 games because we took care of business for a change against these bad teams, right, compared to years past. And he was ready for the moment, right? It was a little conservative, like you said, and I'm kind of going, man, can we win the game 13-10? Can we just play field position, run the ball, and let this defense carry the day?
They were doing the old let's play to not lose rather than play to win.
Right. And then Utah, you get, like you said, they settle for the field goal. Utah goes down on their one drive of the game, right? And it was really one play. They had, Dampier kind of scrambled out of the pocket, and then he threw a bad pass that the tight end made a really good catch on a kind of a broken play. And the guy runs it for like 45 yards, and then they end up punching it in the end zone. And they make it 13-10 with about 10 minutes to go. And I'm kind of going, oh no. And I'm sure a lot of Red Raiders around, everywhere they're watching are going, oh no, right? And before I talk about how good Hammond was and this offense stepped up, man, them getting it done on the road and in the manner in which they did it after that touchdown from Utah, I think went a long way to breaking up a lot of years worth of scar tissue for Red Raider fans that has built up, where it's like, you expect that when things start to go bad, you kind of expect it. You're like, oh, here we go again, right? And I think that them overcoming that broke up a lot of scar tissue for the fan base. I know it did for me, because when Utah scored, I'm going, oh no, we're going to lose this game. Like, we're going to kick a field goal, we're going to lose 17-16, and it's going to be just like another, kick in the junk, excuse my language, for all of Red Raider Nation. And that's not what happens, TJ. Will Hammond takes over the football game with his legs, with his arm. TJ, the one throw that in particular was one where he was kind of rolling to his right, getting pressured, and he threw it over a linebacker to Carter on about a 25-yard, out route or whatever. Like, that's an NFL throw, right? It was really good. He takes the field. He takes the team down on back-to-back drives and scores. And then they tack on one at the end of the game when the game was over. And your guy even said they're showing off now or whatever. But I was all for it. Run it up to quote, remember the Titans, run it up, leave no doubt. They absolutely did that. All the credit in the world to Will Hammond. But as a whole, I thought that the team, and McGuire talked about it last week after the press conference, like they have another level that they can get to from what we've played through 3 weeks. And then they've got another level beyond that. And it's like Utah scored, and they all collectively looked at one another and said, okay, it's time, like, we're going to raise the level. And Utah had no answer. The Red Raiders had worn them down. TJ, this is a physical, fast football team. They're fast on the outside where you want to be, and they're physical at the line of scrimmage and point of attack. And it's a very rare combination when you see a team that has both, right? Like, to me, you can kind of count those teams on one hand across the country that can be dominant at the line of scrimmage and physical at the point of attack while also being a lead on the outside and being with speed, right? And the Red Raiders fit the bill. They are really, really good.
Yeah, and like you said, they showed off for Vegas there in the fourth quarter and got a nice outright win. Who screwed the points here on the Scarlet and Black Nation podcast. We don't need no stinking points. We want to win outright.
4-0 against the spread, TJ. Good teams, and you've heard me say this before, good teams win, great teams cover.
Yes, sir. So the thing about Will Hammond coming in, made a couple of throws. That throw to the one that sticks out in my mind, the throw to Payday Douglas over the middle, right? Looked like a freshman throw.
Oh, I was going to talk about I thought you were talking about the one down the sideline where he missed it.
That was a beautiful throw.
Yeah, they missed it, and they went right back to it on the next play. Yeah, they went right back.
Yeah, the one that made me nervous was the one over the middle, and he just kind of chunks it up.
Yeah.
Dudes are there, and Payday just goes up and grabs it. And you're like, oh, man. But he settled into the game. And look, we don't talk a lot of recruiting on this show. We both have jobs and things that we've always said – it's a little bit different now with the NIL and the way it's kind of organized. But when it was unorganized, when we first started our podcast, it was until a kid gets on campus, right? He could say he's coming to Texas Tech all he wants. You and I aren't going to believe it.
Boy, has that changed.
Yeah. And I'm going to get to the recruits' reaction to all this here on this Scarlet and Black Nation podcast after we talk about the game. But, man, Will Hammond, kudos to you, my guy. Really impressed. The throws he made, and Mac Leftwich loved the calling of and the handling of young Will Hammond coming off the bench. That the first touchdown that he threw to Carter, where it was the fake bubble screen, it wasn't the bubble screen, it was the fake bubble screen. I really liked that one. And man, the way this defense is playing, like you said, I felt once you got to a 2-score lead, it was pretty much a wrap.
Yeah.
And they were able to put their foot on the throat, so to speak, and run away with this thing and call it a day at 34-10.
Yeah.
Red Raiders are now ranked 12th in the country.
Yep.
Too high, too low?
Too low. They're a top 10 team. They've got a better resume than several teams in front of them. But keep winning. It'll take care of itself. TJ, I talked about it. Winning this game, the guys in the locker room, McGuire, et cetera, will tell you it was one game. We're 1-0 in the Big 12. We got to go 2-0 against Houston. And please, by all means, continue with that mindset, right? One game at a time, one day at a time. But TJ, from a 10,000-foot level, like winning this game was really important. And winning it in the manner in which they did is even, I mean, you couldn't ask for more, right? Like you're seeing the respect now all of a sudden. I loved that the social media account like put the I don't know if you saw the tweet where they put out the video of all these different people picking Utah or reasons why Tech wasn't going to win, and they went or whatever and showed why it was wrong.
Dude,
I love them.
On a side note, the Texas Tech social media team,
fantastic,
amazing.
You know, they put out the graphic. They put out the game day graphic where all of them they were all on Utah, right? And TJ, the Red Raiders go in there and boat raced them, right? It was not a boat race.
It could have been a boat race.
If they didn't make all the dumb penalties, if they didn't have all the dumb penalties, it's a boat race. The score got to boat race territory, but the game was closer than that, TJ. But I think this kind of sums it up. And then, you know, they arrived on a national scene. They're getting respect nationally. People are mocking them in the playoff now. Their Vegas has got them installed as the overwhelming favorite to win the Big 12 at this point. They're going to be favored in every game the rest of the way on their schedule. They should be able to run the table if they just take it one game at a time and take care of business. But to kind of sum up this game, and I saw this and I wanted to share it, you know, Texas Tech went on the road against an undefeated ranked opponent as 3.5-point underdogs. They had to start at 10 a.m., which is an ungodly early start time, right? They had 13 accepted penalties against them for over 100 yards. They lost their starting quarterback for the entirety of the second half, and they won the game by 24. TJ, like, people don't understand how impossible it is to do what the Red Raiders just did, given all of that. And I'm so impressed with this team. I believe in this team. We've been, you know, sold a carton of Kool-Aid for 3 years, but there is no Kool-Aid about this team. This team is legit. The defense is legit. The offense is explosive. And again, they're physical on the point of attack, and they're elite fast on the outside.
TJ and Blake here on the Scarlet and Black Nation podcast. And Blake, we're talking about some recruits. Get ready, okay? Because this momentum, dude, is starting to hit the DFW high school ranks. When I find out that we're signing defensive linemen that are 6'4", 300-something pounds from DeSoto, and that there's another one from
Brewster, Cedar Hill, the number one defensive tackle in the country.
Cedar Hill High School, where a certain Joey McGuire was the head coach.
TJ, that one's done. I'm just telling you, it's done. He's announcing on October 4th, but that one's done. Kavion Bryant, can I interest you in the number one quarterback in the state of Texas?
The one that was at the Longhorns this last week. Yes, you can.
If they get Brewster and they get Kavion Bryant, that is now 4 5-stars in the class of 2027 alone, right? To join Hackett from Oklahoma, the tackle, and Whom?
And that Ladarius Guyton, isn't that
Yeah,
his name?
Guyton,
Kid
the
out of
defensive
Georgia.
end that they got out of the Georgia Bulldogs' backyard. So quite literally. So, and you saw I don't know if you saw the tweet from Oho, right?
Well, see, that was my point.
Yeah,
Where I was going to go was these kids. Tech is the cool new shiny toy, and they're all talking to each other. And in this day and age of social media, they're DMing each other. They're talking to each other. Blake, it reminds me. I'm old. Okay, you're a little bit younger than me. Blake, it reminds me of when the Michigan Wolverines put the Fab Five together. Because I
yeah.
don't know how many of you guys have seen the documentary on the Fab Five, but that's exactly what happened. They got these kids out of Michigan, all, basically all American level players, and they said, "Hey, we could go to Michigan and do this thing together." And
Yeah.
the Oho kid is leading the way in that regard on social media.
There's no doubt, TJ, and I'll just say this: if they continue, and they're very clearly doing it, right? I mean, they get, they got Brewster who's about to commit. They got the other kid from DeSoto, the edge that just committed. TJ, if they just want to recruit District 11, right? Like the Joey's stomping grounds, right? The Cedar Hill, Duncanville, DeSoto,
So
Waxahachie, that South Grand Prairie, like that district, right, produces more Division I players than any other district in the country. And I'm not exaggerating when I say that. There are a lot of talent in that district. So, they're recruiting great. I've heard. I'm going to tamper what I say on this, but
as you roll
there
your eyes,
there is a stated goal unofficially that they want to sign the number one class in the country in 2027 coming out of high school. That means Kavion Bryant. That means Brewster. That means a couple of other 5 stars. And then you've got, the GM coming out yesterday and saying there's kids in the class of 2026 where if they have a great senior year, we'll just go outbid other teams, right? And it helps when you've got the when you've got the money guy behind the program and Mr. Cody Campbell, but the momentum is there, and TJ, this is taken off even way higher than I would have ever imagined it could.
dude, this is stupid. This is silly. This is getting out of control.
It is, and I said it when Oklahoma and Texas left the Big 12, right, and went to the SC, and I said, look. We talked about it on both basketball podcasts and football podcasts that there was going to be a power void in football in particular at the top of this conference that somebody was going to have to step into, right? And I said it, you said it, like there's absolutely no reason it shouldn't be Texas Tech. And in fact, if it's not, there's a problem, right? Because you're the biggest state school in the most talent-rich state. And you've got the boosters, the resources, the facilities, the fan support. Like, there's no reason that the OU and Texas not in the league that you can't become the 500-pound gorilla in the cage and just you're the team that everybody's like, shit, we don't want to play these guys, right? We hate. It's the old Nick Saban quote. We hate playing against these guys. And Oho said it. This is the least talented roster Texas Tech is going to have over the next. The guy you saw the tweet from Oklahoma State's big burner on Twitter, Cyclone Larry, the unofficial commission. For those that are on Big 12 Twitter, right, and Texas Tech Twitter,
who Cyclone Larry is.
He's kind of the unofficial unelected commissioner of Big 12 Twitter, right? He just is. He's like, Texas Tech might be a problem, and they are. TJ, they've got the resources, they've got the momentum, they've got everything you could want, and the last thing I want to touch on this, and if you want to add anything, you can, but you got to give McGuire credit for the culture that he has created in Lubbock.
No doubt.
You've seen, there have been several teams that have gone all in on the transfer portal in the last couple of years, right? Florida State last year was a disaster, right? They had the number one, I think they had the number 2 portal class behind Ole Miss, and they went like 4-11 or 4-7. The wheels fell off. They're obviously much better this year with the same approach. Ole Miss has been in those conversations, and Lane's been very good. They can't get over the hump, but they've been very competitive. And then Oregon is the other big one that Lanning has completely embraced the portal, but it works some places, it doesn't work others, right? And it comes down to culture. And you've got to give McGuire credit for the culture, the momentum, the recruiting, all of it. I know he's got the money behind him, and that helps. But they talked about it on the broadcast. He's a hard guy not to like, right? And these kids love him. They play hard for him, and he's done a great job instilling a culture to get these guys to play together, and that's really impressive.
And he knows his role. His role is to be CEO.
Yeah,
drive the bus. Don't wreck. Or it's not a bus anymore. It's a full blown 747 charter private jet. I mean, he's traveling in style these days. Just don't wreck it.
Yeah.
And so, man, I do think, and we can laugh about it, but the fact that we're sitting here having a conversation about 5 stars just blows my mind.
Never in a million years.
Like multiple 5 stars.
One other thing on that, Kavion Bryant, I think this is a tag team recruiting job, right? Because he's also, what people don't realize is while he's the number 1 quarterback in the state of Texas, he's also a blue chip top 100 basketball player. So I think that there's been some conversations behind the scenes that they might kind of let him play both, right? Because he wants to play both. And, McCaslin
Charlie
just
Ward
talked
action for those of you that remember Heisman Trophy winner Charlie Ward that also played in the NBA for the New York Knicks.
Yeah,
no,
there's conversations he might be allowed to play both. McCaslin and McGuire are very good friends. McCaslin addressed the football team a couple of weeks ago before the season started, and I'm sure that will be returned before the basketball team tips off. But yeah, I mean it's exciting that Tech athletics is healthier right now than it has ever been. Between the 2 big ones that matter, right? The 2 big ones being men's basketball and, football, obviously, but softball's good. Golf is good. Tennis is good. The only program that can't seem to figure it out right now is women's basketball, but, track's great. But to me, right, like all of those are nice to haves. The 2 that I care about are men's basketball and football.
The 2 that you absolutely have to have.
And TJ, give it about 2 more weeks when the Red Raiders break into the top 10 in football, and you're going to be sitting here and you're going to be the only team, the only school in the country that has a top 10 football team at the same time as also having a top 10 ranked basketball team because they're number 6 in the preseason AP poll in basketball. So it is exciting times. Enjoy it. This doesn't happen often where you get everything pulling in the same direction. The boosters, the administration, the athletic director, the coaching staffs, the fan, like it couldn't be a more well-run top to, and you got to give Hokut credit for that. Yeah. But and Cody credit for that because he's also chairman of the Board of Regents, and so clearly he's having an influence in how the direction that the school is going. But between Cody and Hokut and McGuire and McCaslin, like kudos because this is special.
No doubt about that. When you and I started this thing 4 years ago, we couldn't have even dreamed that this is the position that we'd be in right now.
We were a basketball school, TJ. The football program was withering in the wind and didn't have a direction. And
then basketball got blown up not once, but twice.
Well, a lot of people don't know this story. A lot of people don't know this story, and I don't think I've shared it on this podcast, but I'll share it really quick kind of to wrap up tonight for those that are still with us after this long pod. And we're kind of having a victory dunk on Utah and dunk on the Big 12 party.
And then before we get out of here, we'll get to Barron and the injury and the bye week and all that. But
perfect timing. But I'll share this story. So, people that have listened to us know my wife went to TCU. And a couple of years ago when we had just gotten engaged, it was the last year of Matt Wells, right? And we, through some, people that I know and an individual who was at my wedding, who's very well connected at Tech, we asked him if he could help us with tickets, and he ended up getting us tickets to sit in the athletic director's box. So we were in Kirby Hokut's box for the TCU Tech game. And my wife, I told her, I'm like, look, I'm sorry, but because we're sitting, you got to wear red. Like you can quietly cheer for TCU, but you can't wear TCU gear in the Tech athletic director's box. Like you have to wear red. And she was fine with that, right? We were engaged. She's like, okay, sure. And she does have a degree from Tech. Her graduate degrees from Tech or undergrads from TCU. And about 5-6 minutes into the third quarter, TCU is up like 45 to 17, right? They're blowing us out in Lubbock. And I look over and Kirby Hokut's just sitting over there on the side like this or whatever. And he comes over and he made it a point to go around to the box, introduce himself. And he comes over and he introduced himself and talked to us for a couple of minutes. And he goes, "I'm sorry. We've got to be better than this. We've got to put a better product on the field than what we're doing. We've got to be more competitive. We've got to get this fixed, and we will." 2 weeks later, he fired Matt Wells, hired Joey McGuire, and it has just been an ascent ever since. That has culminated with this Utah game, and so I just want to give Hokut a lot of credit. I've not shared that story with this podcast, but I felt it was appropriate given where we're at as an athletic department and everything else.
Yeah. I mean, Blake, this is, for me, somebody who walked the halls of the university in 2008 when a certain game was won against the University of Texas, right?
I was there.
The number one game in school history. It's been a long time coming.
Yeah.
And this win on Saturday felt good. Now, that win against Texas, the country's going to find out everybody runs through Lubbock game, right? Like, they're finding out everything's running through Lubbock. I wanted to beat Texas that day, no doubt. But this game on the road with a backup quarterback.
Message sent to
the nation. Everybody's going to find out.
To me, it's more a message sent to the rest of this conference of, hey, like, there's a new sheriff in town, and it's Texas Tech. And if you want to play in the playoff or you want to be in Arlington, like, you got to go through us at this point because we're the most talented team on paper. We've got the best culture. We've got the most resources. We've got the best home field. Good luck.
Blake, we got a bye week this week, so we get
perfect time. You love that.
Perfect time. Get a bye week. Old Baron Morton gets to rest up. It doesn't look like I have not heard this, so correct me if you've heard any different. I do not believe it was a concussion. I just think he got his bell rung a little bit.
Yeah, they're saying it's a stiff neck or something like that, but they said he's fine. He's ready to go. He is still QB1. I know that there's been a lot of chatter about Hammond, and rightfully so, but TJ, it's kind of one of those where it's like Will Hammond can have really high highs, right? Like what you saw on Saturday.
A couple of plays go the other way, and it could have been a
correct. I think that you've got you've obviously got a super high ceiling, but I also think that because he's still a freshman and he's a redshirt freshman, you could have some low floors. Whereas Barron still gives you a pretty high ceiling, but also gives you a much higher floor for the most part. This is still Barron's team. McGuire talked about that. Hammond knows his role, that he's this team's backup quarterback, and when called upon, he's supposed to come in and make plays and lead the team, and they believe in him. It's his team next year, but it is still Baron Morton's team for the rest of this year as long as he's healthy.
And I want to give McGuire credit again before we get out of here, because Mac Leftwich and Shieldwood have done a phenomenal job.
Yeah, they're both excellent.
So looking forward to the bye week, Blake. We may or may not have something going as a pod. We'll figure that out and get out to you here in Red and Black Nation. So what we're going to do now is talk about the next game. Houston Cougars, Blake. Tickets went on sale. LBK South. Get them now, Red Raider Nation.
6 p.m. kick, ESPN national broadcast. I expect this to not be a true road game, right? Houston's going to be excited. They're probably going to be 4-0 once they beat Oregon State. They're excited. They've got Connor Wegman, and they feel like they're an improved football team, and they are. Tech should be favored on the road here by about 13.5 would be my guess. Tech's going to cover. They're just Houston can probably keep it close for a half, but I think that in the second half you're going to see just the Red Raiders' depth and quality in the trenches kind of take over the football game, and I think that's going to be a common theme the rest of the way. TJ, I think these offensive and defensive lines they're going to win games over the course of the game. So I mean, I expect another Red Raider win.
So we've got another pod to talk about that one. But first, Blake, we get to celebrate this one for a few more weeks, or a couple weeks here anyway. And then don't look now, Blake, but the calendar's about to turn to October. You know what that means. Don't blink, because this basketball team is going to get going before you know it. And boy, we love some basketball around here, don't we?
They're going to be really good. Also, a huge W on the court, going with the classic double T for those that have seen that post. But yeah, I'm excited. Like I said, TJ, they're going to be the only. Give it a couple more weeks when the Red Raiders creep into the top 10 in football, and then you're going to be the only school in the country with a top 10 ranked football team and basketball team. Kudos to everybody involved from the top down.
Man, we're really excited here on the Scarlet and Black Nation podcast. Blake, how do we always get out of here?
Rag 'em.
Wreck 'em. We will talk to you guys next week. Y'all have a good one.